There's also behind it what looks like might be a wall cloud. And that's the part we become concerned with, because that's where sometimes you can get tornadoes.
It's pure devastation. I have never seen anything like this in my entire life.
The night of March 14th, 2024. An EF-3 tornado with a path nearly a mile wide tears across the southern shore of Indian Lake.
There's some friends and people I haven't even gotten hold of yet, and I hope they made it through.
3 deaths and hundreds of homes destroyed. Story after story of people saving lives and saving themselves.
I laid down like this and I pulled the shower curtain closed.
And so I had to go through with an axe and chop away and kick in the doors just to get them out.
When the floor started shaking, and I just dropped straight down and crawled halfway under the bed.
The damage, an estimated $34 million.
Our Lakeview Municipal Building is demolished. Our laundromat is gone. The old plastics building is just completely demolished. Downtown, it's bad.
This is the village center of Lakeview a day after that tornado came through. Debris everywhere, buildings beyond repair. 1 year later, this is what it looks like now. Empty spaces ready for a rebuild. Marshall and Mike were out there that next morning. Our crews have been up there now throughout the week. Tell us how the progress is looking.
Jess, good evening to you here in Lakeview, where we have sunny skies, I should say, blue skies. It's been a beautiful day. But right now we are seeing those winds starting to pick up right now as well. Some strong gusts, as I'm joined here by Chief Meteorologist Marshall McPeak. And we have heard from people in this community talking about the fact with that potential severe weather Jen just mentioned, there is a sense of uneasiness here tonight as well.
And the wind advisories are in effect, and that is because this wind is just going to get stronger, and that is a bit triggering for a lot of folks who are here in the Indian Lake area, because that was an incredible wind before, and the threat of severe storms coming almost exactly a year later is really terrifying for a lot of folks. This morning, they were able to acknowledge a lot of the first responders who helped 1 year ago today. Take a look at some video this morning. This was at the high school earlier today. This was the Indian Lake schools, actually, and they were honoring the first responders and volunteers. They called it Stronger Than the Storm. And that's what they're determined to be. They thanked their local heroes. They heard from some of the neighbors, and they all said they were grateful for the service.
As we reflect on the past year, let us remember the strength we found in each other. The tornado may have tested us, but it also revealed the best in us. It showed us that when we come together, there is nothing we cannot overcome. Our community is stronger now because of the bonds we've forged and the lessons we learned.
One of the things that we have already heard from neighbors out here today is that there is a sense of hope, that the community is rebuilding, that people are working together, and they are seeing some of those signs of reconstruction.
And we have heard those sounds of reconstruction throughout the day today. We are here right along Main Street, and it is clear that the road to recovery here on this street and on so many streets here in Lakeview, it is going to be a long road to recovery. But we have heard the construction equipment out here, as there are many homes that are in the process of being rebuilt, so many things being put back together, but still much work to do. I'm surprised by the fact that a year later, since we stood in this community and saw debris really any and everywhere you looked, you still see that in spots, in trees, on the ground. It's still scattered.
And in a lot of cases, to rebuild also involves tearing down first. You've got to get the debris out of the way before you can put something new there. We have a photographer, Teresa, who lives here in Lakeview, and this is what happened to her house.
In perspective, this is my back of my house, and this is my neighbor's house coming down.
Right there, a family lived there for nearly 20 years. A mom, her kids, and her husband, they made the difficult decision to leave Teresa's neighborhood and move somewhere else. We will share more of their story coming up at 5:30 in terms of exactly where they went and more on why. As we come back out here right now, that home you just saw being torn down, as this passes by us here, we will zoom in and show you what is left nothing there, just the lot itself. And here in Lakeview, the stories of recovery really vary as you take just a few steps down the street. There is a home where siding still needs to go up, and then a little further down the street, it's tough to see, but that brown house right there, it still has tarps covering part of the roof a year later. And then across the street, here are two more examples. You can see the house right over here that has siding still yet to go up on it, work being done on the porch there as well as to the roof. And then the greenhouse here has some new siding just put on not long ago. But beyond rebuilding in this community, it is also a day of remembering. We should have some photos we can show you here of the 3 lives who were lost 1 year ago today when that EF-3 tornado tore across the region here in Indian Lake, killing these 3 people, Darla Williams, Neil Longfellow, and Marilyn Snap, all killed as that tornado hit 1 year ago today, and dozens more people were hurt. And as Marshall mentioned, there really is a sense of gratitude in this community as well today for all those first responders who acted so quickly that night after the storm as it was here, and then in the immediate moments after, to make sure more lives were not lost. We have much more to get to tonight here at Indian Lake, including how businesses were impacted by this, how they are moving ahead, and the story of one woman who has weathered her own financial storm, really trying to move ahead and build her business. Jessica and Rodney, much more to come tonight at 5:30 and throughout the rest of the newscast here on ABC6. We'll send things back to you for now.
Jen, 1 year ago at this time, we were tracking tornadoes on live television to give everybody the heads up that this was coming. And the idea that there is the potential for severe storms again tomorrow really has a lot of folks here in Lakeview and the surrounding lake area really on edge. So we'll be watching closely. A year later, you can still see signs of the devastation. The trees obviously don't have leaves yet, but in some cases the question is, will they? Because it's tough to tell which ones might have actually survived. But then you also see trees like this. There's still debris in those branches. Or look around here. This used to be the laundromat. So this is just a blank slab now. But right across the street, we have homes that are in all kinds of states. One that looks like it's been almost completely rebuilt. The next door neighbor here has been mostly rebuilt. But there's also a house right there that hasn't been touched since the tornado last year because they're still trying to deal with the insurance. But then there's a couple of empty lots here where at some point perhaps someone can rebuild. Some of those families have decided to move out of town at this point. So it's a rebuilding process, but people tell us they have hope. They are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and they're looking forward. Somebody told us next year, this is going to be a whole new town. It's going to have a whole new feel, just like it used to, and things will start to really get back to normal. Mike McCarthy is following some of that rebuilding process. Mike, what are you seeing?
So, Marshall, we are now live in one of the mobile home parks that was hit so hard by that tornado 1 year ago today, where today there are new homes that have been brought in, just like this one right here. And for some families in this community, they faced a decision over the last year. Should they stay, maybe move into somewhere new, maybe rebuild on their lot if they still have one, or should they leave this community altogether?
So this is our lot. Our house used to be right here.
Ashley Brentlinger stood on uncertain ground, not knowing what's next for the land where her family lived for 18 years, and uncertain when it'll get any easier remembering how it all changed.
We have recently purchased a house in Bell Fountain. We plan on keeping this lot. We are hoping to rebuild something here.
Her family decided to tear down their damaged Lakeview home. Uncertainty about the neighborhood's future, plus a desire for a basement, helped push their decision to move. Just down the road, a different decision came at La Playa Cocina and Cantina. Are you where you thought you would be 1 year later?
No, not at all. I had no intentions of them even being open after that tornado. I figured we were just done.
Owner Bethany South not only stayed, but she weathered a financial storm, repairing, then buying the building with plans to expand, despite losing out on last summer's boating season. She put her own spin on the anniversary with a tornado-inspired margarita and food.
F that tornado, boom, down the hatch.
She can joke about it now, but her restaurant was where she and her staff rode out the real deal. Why take this approach to it?
I am embracing the fact that we made it through that. I didn't think we were going to live, so.
Signs of new life back at Ashley Brentlinger's lot gave her hope amid all her uncertainty. So as you come back and you walk across this area, what are you thinking about?
Just all the memories. All the fun times we had.
She says whatever her next steps will be, she'll take them confidently with her husband and kids. Of that, she was certain.
You have to be strong.
You do have to be strong. We have heard that also from others in this community as well, where tonight we're also hearing from folks who say they are concerned that they have been forgotten. They are frustrated, they told me, by the process it has taken to try to get financial help as they have tried to rebuild their lives.
And it lasted quite a while. It really scared us.
Take a deep breath and keep your heads up.
I just paid $3,000 to move the electric meter to where they wanted it to be safe and all that. It's just ripped and gone.
Material things can be replaced.
It's costing an estimated $34 million to replace all that material.
I mean, it's like you're standing on a railroad track and you could hear the train coming.
We're now 1 year removed from the tornado at Indian Lake, taking a 1,000-foot view of the situation and pushing for answers on the ground.
There was a promise that was made to Ohioans. What have you done over the last year to fulfill that promise?
While things can be replaced, the memories will live on forever.
It sounded like a freight train coming through our front room.
I was just sitting there eating some chicken and I heard that freight train coming. That's what it sounds like.
And today marks the 1 year anniversary of the tornado at Indian Lake, a devastating, deadly storm that tore the small community of Lakeview apart.
The tornado just didn't take homes and businesses, it took loved ones too. Darla Williams, Neil Longfellow, and Marilyn Snapp all lost their lives that day. Dozens more were injured.
And tonight, the community is still trying to put the pieces back together as they remember those lives that were lost.
Mike McCarthy and meteorologist Marshall McPeak are out in Lakeview speaking with neighbors. Let's check in with Marshall first.
We've had an interesting day today talking with those neighbors because what's fascinating is how much hope we see coming from them. There's a lot of work still being done down the street. You can still see construction is in progress. One house may have nothing done yet because they're still working with their insurance company. Next door, a lot of work has been done and another house is in progress. So right here in a small space, you've got lots of different progress, but it's at different points. Just next door, some empty lots where there used to be houses. There may be again someday, just not in the near future. While we're seeing progress and things coming back to the area, the mayor gave us a tour the other day to give us a sense of where things stand.
Anything to get the word out, right? Yeah, we're still here. We're here open for business, but with the message to our governor, Elaine Fagan-Moore. I'm the mayor for the village of Lakeview. If you look you'll still see there's, garage doors, people's furniture still in it. As it came up through the village of Lakeview, took that bank and just came right through here, on over to Russell's Point, across the water to Orchard Island, and just kept going. So you see the barren spot right down here at the end of the street. That's where the tornado came up through. And then every one of these houses on the back side were all heavy devastation. Everybody on this street, they were wiped out, every one of them. This house right here on the corner was the one that was probably the most touching because I could hear the children play. They survived in their bathtub with their two kitties and a dog. So I mean, it's those small little miracles. They're miracles. That's how I look at it. So in here, this was like an offset room for our workers. They could come in, they had lunch here and have breaks here. The walls are giving.
Oh, yeah.
You can see. But again, nothing like what other people have experienced. They lost everything. Where you see the movement of the equipment, that was mound hundreds of feet up with just trash and rubble. It was a central location where they were dumping so that they would come in then and they would remove it by dump trucks to get it out. But it's so fun to see, you know, the dugouts are being rebuilt. And so the goal is to get our ball fields open by April 1. People are resilient and they're going to come back, and they're coming back even better. The homes are beautiful. So I'm excited for the little families to come back. I want to say to our government officials, as a mayor, I want to reach out to Governor DeWine and say, please don't forget us. We still need help with housing. Please make sure that we are still looked after in that respect. And we're only one person, one community. So. Yeah. But I will say this community has been extremely resilient and coming together and showing the love and the care for one another. And that's irreplaceable.
Neighbors looking out for neighbors and people really caring about each other are what brings this community back together. And the fantastic part, there is hope in this neighborhood. This is a house that Laura Snyder has lived in for a while and lost most of it in the tornado. Her pontoon boat ended up in the bedroom. She's been lucky enough to rebuild most of it, and it's still in progress, but she says she does feel that there is light and she doesn't yet feel forgotten.
It's heartbreaking that we're still in this situation, in this predicament, but I know we're going to get there. And it takes time. I mean, with the contractors, insurance companies, people fighting with everybody, but we're making progress, and that kept me here.
And Laura says she's looking forward to next year because she thinks by then a lot of this community is going to be almost back to normal. A moment ago you heard the mayor's concerns, and tonight our Mike McCarthy is on your side taking her concerns directly to Governor DeWine. Mike, what did the governor have to say?
So, Marshall, first, let me tell you where we are right now, live in an area devastated by that storm, that tornado 1 year ago, where you can clearly see in front of me the large piles of trash here right now. And behind me, there is debris still, really, in every direction that you look. The few mobile homes that remain have clear and significant damage to them. We did just hear those concerns from the Lakeview mayor about this community being forgotten by the state's government officials. So we did take those concerns straight to Governor Mike DeWine. And tonight we have some new details to share with you about the response, the funds that have been made available not only from the government in the state of Ohio, but also through FEMA and the federal government. Let's start here with the new details we have on the state's response to this tornado. I checked with the Ohio Emergency Management Agency and found more than $1.6 million has gone out through the state disaster relief program. That money is for local governments and nonprofits. For example, Governor DeWine told me the village of Lakeview got help with its public water. More than $2 million of those state funds remain available tonight. The help for families, the governor said, typically comes from the federal government through FEMA. And I found nearly $4 million in total approved federal money. Most of that, records show, was for housing. Governor DeWine told me more than 280 families have received help through FEMA. That amounted to more than $2.5 million. The governor told me he has not forgotten this community. He says the state has not forgotten, though he recognizes and understands, he says, housing is a major concern in this community still for families. So here is part of the conversation I had with him where he once again committed and promised to help those families in need.
You know that people have really been hit. I mean, some people lost everything they had. That's very, very devastating. I mean, we've tried to hook them up and connect them with whatever kind of assistance is legally available for them, but that doesn't make them whole. It doesn't put them back to where they were at the beginning. We understand that.
I think there's a role for the state at this point to step in and to help potentially better connect them still with the resources that they may not have utilized?
Yeah, I think we certainly are available to continue to try to do that. I think it's important that we stay in touch with them. Yeah.
What would you advise them to do if they see this?
Look, I think if there's anything that they think that we can do, contact the governor's office. I'll say this to them right now. Call the governor's office. Tell them what you're calling about. We'll have somebody who will get back to them and see if there's anything that we can do to help.
Tonight, that number to the governor's office, if you want to call it, is 614-466-3555. You should see that number right now on your screen if the governor's message tonight is significant to you and your family. We will continue to keep you updated as those funds continue to roll out from the state and from FEMA. But Marshall, tonight we're also seeing some new developments happen as we speak, with the community gathering right now over at Indian Lake High School, as you were looking at some live pictures, I believe, of that gathering that is about to get underway.
It's pure devastation. I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. Our Lakeview Municipal Building is demolished. Our laundromat is gone.
It's just unbelievable that I'm alive.
Today marks 1 year since an EF-3 tornado hit Indian Lake. The path was nearly a mile wide, killing 3 people, hurting dozens more, destroying homes and businesses, and devastating the community at a cost of $34 million. Tonight, neighbors came together to look back at that fateful night, honor the victims, share gratitude, and join together in moving forward.
This last year seems to have gone so slowly in many, many ways. And then again, it just seems like yesterday.
Inside Indian Lake High School, a community joins together. After a year, no one will soon forget.
Looking back a year ago, I'm sure everything felt pretty broken. The plans you made, the dreams you held, the future you saw so clearly. In an instant, it was shattered.
Remembering the night a tornado tore through town, taking lives and changing them in a tragedy that was transformative.
This has brought our community so close. We have family now in our community. This community used to be a lot of strangers, and now we don't know a stranger.
And although this gathering was anchored in hope,
at this time, 7:48, the tornado was entering Lakeview. I ask you to please stand with me and join me in a moment of silence.
there were somber moments, honoring the dozens who were injured and the 3 who were lost: Darla Williams, Neil Longfellow, and Marilyn Snap.
I cannot imagine the pain you have endured with the loss of your loved ones. However, this community truly loved them, and they will be remembered as long as strong roots of this community.
And still, so many roots needed replanted. There were homes and businesses destroyed or in desperate need of repair. But the story here, a battered community rebounded, rebuilding with resilience.
You know, it didn't matter who you were, rich, poor, whatever. Everybody came together, and I think that is the biggest thing that came from this community. Is it showed what we're capable of when we work together.
It is a look back, but also a look forward at progress and perseverance.
Being a year later, we're seeing new houses go up. We're seeing new facilities that have been torn down. We're seeing things just take shape the way they used to be, and our lake is coming to be beautiful once again.
And in that beauty, there is endless gratitude for all of those: police, firefighters, and everyday people who offered help in the midst of heartbreak.
You have an amazing story to share as a survivor, and you have helped this community move forward for the generations to come here at Indian Lake. You are Indian Lake strong.